My name is Ashlee Whitaker, and it's really nice to be back in the museum, if even for a few minutes, to do this Facebook Live. I've missed being here, and we miss you, and so it's a privilege to bring you a piece from our collection and talk about it for just a few minutes. As I anticipated this, I was thinking about our religious collection, and I wanted to talk about a painting that's fairly new to us here at the museum, and it's called Jesus and Peter on the Water by an artist named Gustave Brion. And it's featured in Rend the Heavens, Intersections Between the Human and Divine. And I've come to love this painting, even from the moment I saw it. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background before we look more closely about the artist. Gustave Brion, we would say he's a French artist. He was actually born in the area of Alsace, which is on the very eastern part of France, right by Germany. And the reason I feel like that's important for our story is he studies art there, and really throughout his career, he's known for his paintings of that area. Paintings that highlight village life, the life of, we'll say, the peasants. They're very celebratory, they're scenes of every day, they're bright, they're colorful, they're busy, there's a lot going on. And the painting that we'll look at stands in contrast to that. It's very different, and I think there's some significance there. He studies and he paints in that area of Alsace, and then eventually he does go to Paris, where he will work and continue his career as both a painter and an illustrator. So Brion is a masterful storyteller. And this piece that he's painted here was created and displayed in 1863 at the Paris Salon. And he chose a religious subject, which is very different from his other work. And of course, at the Salon, which was the most prestigious art exhibit of the time, one would be expected to do a historical or a religious subject. So that stands out of his work. I love the way that he's painted it. It's very spare, it's very simple yet powerful. So the moment that he's depicted, and I'll pause to appreciate Kylie, who's here filming at a distance, and hopefully we're gonna get some good close-ups here with our Zoom. He's shown this moment of Peter walking on the water. Now, in the Gospels, this is only found in Matthew chapter 14, and it's such a powerful story. We know that Christ sends the disciples to travel across the Sea of Galilee without him, and the disciples, as they're out on the water, they encounter a huge storm, which is typical, can happen on the Sea of Galilee. And it talks about them rowing and rowing and rowing through the night, and then Christ approaches them on the water. And at first they're not sure what to make of this figure walking towards them, but then Peter, as he recognizes the Savior, he calls out to him and says, "Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water." And Jesus says one word in response. He says, "Come." And as we know, Peter, even though I think he's a fisherman, he knows the perils of the water, he leaps out of that boat and begins walking. And as he does so, the storm begins to disturb his focus on Christ. And Brion here has given us the storm. In fact, he's given us the immensity of this moment out in the middle of the water. There is no anchor in sight. And Peter's in the midst of this, having acted in faith. And we see the waves cresting around him. They almost become like mountain peaks there in the background. Brion, as I said before, he's not known as a seascape painter. The water here, his treatment of this storm, I think is incredible. All of the myriad colors, the greens, the blues, almost fading into black to convey the churning, the ominous intensity of this moment. And as Peter begins to be engulfed and to fear, he says a simple but absolutely powerful phrase. He says, "Lord, save me." And Brion, as a storyteller, he gives us this very human moment of Peter's fear. I love the way he's depicted that face. The despair is coming on as Peter realizes he's sinking. His knees are now at the waterline. And the scriptures say that immediately, using that word, immediately Christ extends a hand and rescues Peter from that moment, from falling. And Christ, in contrast to Peter, who's being subsumed, who looks so desperate and scared, understandably so, Christ is buoyant on the water, very light the way that he's standing there, reaching out in a very simple gesture, lifting him up. It's just this moment of calm that the Savior gives to Peter and to us. Now, Brion's other paintings, as I've said, are very active, lots of figures, very busy. But here he's really focused on, I think, the emotion, the psychology of this moment. There is a boat here. You can see the fishing vessel. You can see how far Peter has come. But in this fishing vessel, he is not giving us any details of faces or emotions or actions, as opposed to his other paintings. He's left this to be more vague. Again, focusing on this moment that Peter has, isolating on those feelings. But I do love the mast from that ship that pokes out up into and over that horizon line, and that simple cross shape. I think a beautiful symbolic reminder of Christ as he who lifts, he who guides, just like this boat. Another thing that's quite interesting to me, I think, is that everything takes place below the horizon line. The water, this engulfing sea, Christ, in many depictions we'll see Christ, breaking through. But here, I think, for me, I interpret this as a beautiful reminder that Christ descends to us. He comes down to us. He is in the storm with us. In that moment, as deep as we are, he will come to us. He will be there the moment any of us cry out, Lord, save me, help me. And this horizon, or the sky that the artist has painted here, we can see that there's storm clouds. They're very dark at the top, but they're beginning to break through here. You see those glimpses of the clearing of the clouds, the sky coming through in this last watch as morning is coming, as storm is breaking. And to me, I think this painting has so much to offer. It is, as one critic said at the 1863 Salon, it is simple, it is grand, it is masterful. And I think for us, it's a wonderful meditation on the Savior and his relationship and his compassion towards us. And during this Holy Week, and really all the time, especially now in the times that we're facing, I think it's a powerful reminder of his grace, that we ourselves have moments, maybe hourly, daily, where we go from feeling courageous and faithful and strong and ready to where we feel like we're sinking, and fear creeps in, intimidation, any of those things, but that Christ will always respond to us. And that is the gift of his life, his example, and his atonement. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you have a very blessed and healthy Holy Week, and we look forward to seeing you again at the museum.